Let's have an honest, unfiltered conversation about something many people observe in everyday life, but few discuss openly. The fundamental difference between men who naturally command respect and admiration and those who continuously struggle to find it in their personal relationships and social interactions. According to countless perspectives shared by both men and women across various platforms and real-life experiences, there's a remarkably clear distinction between those who maintain their core identity with confidence and those who compromise it repeatedly, hoping this surrender will somehow make them more appealing to others. You'll find men across the entire spectrum of relationship dynamics, some perpetually overlooked and relegated to friendship zones, others existing in relationships where they've systematically surrendered their voice, their preferences, and their autonomy, becoming merely supportive fixtures rather than equal partners in a balanced relationship. If that arrangement genuinely resonates with your identity and you're content with that dynamic, that's entirely your personal choice to make. But if you aspire to embody authentic strength, maintain your masculine identity, and experience relationships built on mutual respect rather than one-sided accommodation, then this conversation matters deeply. Don't just accept a single perspective on this complex topic. Listen carefully to the experiences and wisdom shared by men who actually walked this challenging path themselves, who have made mistakes, learned difficult lessons, and emerged with clarity about what works and what doesn't in creating attraction and maintaining respect. Here's a fundamental truth supported by both evolutionary psychology and contemporary relationship research. Genuinely feminine women don't develop deep, lasting romantic feelings for weakness or submission. They might sympathize with it temporarily. They might even exploit it when it serves their immediate needs. But they fundamentally don't respect it. And respect, as we understand from decades of psychological research and human observation, forms the absolute foundation of authentic, enduring attraction. If you genuinely want to become someone's conscious first choice, rather than their convenient backup option or emotional support system, you must identify and stop engaging in specific behaviors that systematically transform initial attraction into eventual indifference, or even worse, sympathetic pity. Women simply don't build passionate, exciting, lasting relationships with men they fundamentally feel sorry for or view as emotionally dependent. Important disclaimer, not every woman fits the same behavioral pattern, and neither does every man. Human beings are wonderfully complex and diverse. This discussion isn't about harsh judgment or creating rigid stereotypes. It's about recognizing common behavioral patterns that keep many people trapped in frustrating cycles of confusion, disappointment, or quiet resentment that slowly erodes their self-esteem. The fundamental psychology of attraction operates independently of our personal opinions about what seems fair or politically correct. Some of these observations about counterproductive behaviors might genuinely challenge you or create temporary discomfort. That uncomfortable feeling often signals an important opportunity for meaningful personal growth. As you read through these detailed points, pause periodically and ask yourself with complete honesty, why do I sometimes choose these particular actions? What am I really hoping to achieve? What fears or insecurities drive these choices?
13 patterns that systematically undermine authentic masculinity. 1. Apologizing constantly for your natural identity. Men who lack fundamental confidence in themselves tend to consistently minimize their presence in every social situation. They soften their natural communication style, carefully filter their words to avoid any possible offense, and apologize unnecessarily for simply occupying space or expressing opinions. Having internalized persistent cultural messages that masculinity itself is inherently problematic or toxic, they progressively suppress their natural masculine energy, genuinely believing this self-diminishment will make them more appealing and lovable to women. The opposite effect actually happens. They become completely unmemorable and interchangeable. Genuinely self-assured men understand intuitively that healthy, grounded masculinity doesn't mean aggression, domination, or controlling behavior. It means being fundamentally grounded in your identity, capable of making decisive choices, and remaining composed and effective under pressure. When a man authentically owns his natural masculine self without apology or hesitation, women instinctively feel secure and protected around him. When he systematically conceals or suppresses it, women unconsciously sense something is fundamentally off balance, even if they cannot articulate exactly what troubles them about the interaction. Core principle: a man who others genuinely desire and respect doesn't apologize for his fundamental nature or masculine essence. 2. Externalizing all responsibility for personal boundaries and choices. Some men develop a habit of consistently criticizing and complaining about modern women, systematically attributing every disappointment, rejection, and relationship setback exclusively to female behavior and changing cultural norms. She completely ignored me. She deliberately took advantage of my kindness. Women today are impossible to understand or please. While specific individual experiences may partially validate these frustrated feelings, this externalized perspective conveniently overlooks a crucial contributing factor. A man's consistent failure to establish and firmly maintain appropriate personal boundaries is equally part of the problematic equation. Genuinely self-aware men carefully study observable behavioral patterns and relationship dynamics without harboring deep resentment or hostility toward women as a group. They recognize and accept that female psychology differs from male psychology in specific, measurable ways related to evolutionary development and social conditioning, and they pragmatically accept that women respond most positively to demonstrated strength, clear leadership, and unwavering self-respect, rather than accommodation and people-pleasing. Core principle: high-quality women don't actively pursue or remain long-term with men who harbor obvious resentment toward women. When you finally stop blaming external factors in other people, you actually reclaim your personal power and agency. You shift from constantly reacting to establishing clear standards that naturally encourage mutual accountability in relationships. Remember this important distinction: being accountable yourself doesn't excuse or enable others to avoid their own accountability. Personal accountability represents masculine, empowered energy and mature character. Blame and victim mentality represent reactive, immature feminine energy that repels quality partners. 3. Surrendering all relationship direction and decision-making. Men who fundamentally lack confidence often believe that letting her make virtually all decisions makes them enlightened, progressive, or respectful of equality. Actually, this behavior makes them completely dispensable and replaceable. If she unilaterally determines when you meet, how much effort you invest in the relationship, whether the relationship has any clear definition or commitment, and what the rules and expectations are, she's not genuinely dating you as an equal partner. She's essentially managing you like a subordinate project or emotional support resource. Genuinely self-assured men simply don't participate in ambiguous, undefined relationship dynamics where expectations remain perpetually unclear. They establish the fundamental tone, boundaries, and expectations from the very beginning of any potential relationship. For example, if she says something like, "I'm not really sure what I want right now," or "I'm not ready for anything serious," a man lacking confidence waits around indefinitely, hoping she'll eventually choose him when she figures things out. A truly confident man responds clearly and directly, "Then I'm not the right person for this situation," and he moves on immediately without resentment or extended explanation. Core principle: a man who won't provide clear direction, leadership, and structure gives a woman nothing meaningful or attractive to follow.
4. Persistently pursuing those who clearly show disinterest. Men desperately seeking external validation habitually chase after attention and approval. They send multiple unreturned messages, offer excessive and unearned compliments, and continuously try earning interest and attention from women who've already clearly signaled their disinterest through actions or lack of reciprocal effort. And here's the difficult truth that many refuse to accept. Women immediately recognize when a man pursues primarily from insecurity and neediness rather than genuine confidence. It doesn't flatter them. It actively repels them and triggers instinctive avoidance. Genuinely self-assured men never pursue or invest significant energy in someone who clearly isn't choosing them or demonstrating reciprocal interest. They recognize genuine interest through consistent effort and clear actions, not through ambiguous words or occasional attention. When a woman truly values you,
and wants to build something meaningful, you won't need to decode mysterious mixed signals or analyze every text message. She'll make engagement easy, clear, and mutually enjoyable. Insight. Stop chasing those who consistently run away or remain unavailable. Start focusing your energy on attracting those who naturally stay and invest. 5. Tolerating ongoing disrespectful treatment and boundary violations. Men who lack fundamental confidence systematically accept disrespect and boundary violations because they operate from a constant fear of losing the relationship or being alone. They genuinely believe that walking away from disrespect means losing the one or missing their only opportunity for connection. But here's what they fail to understand. When you consistently tolerate disrespect without consequences, you're actively teaching others exactly how to treat you, and that treatment typically worsens over time. Genuinely self-assured men sincerely prefer temporary solitude over ongoing companionship with someone who regularly mocks them, belittles their opinions or feelings, or constantly tests their boundaries and patience. They don't waste energy arguing for respect or trying to convince someone to treat them better. They simply remove their presence and attention. That decisive silence and withdrawal communicates more powerfully than any verbal explanation, ultimatum, or emotional appeal ever could. Core principle. You absolutely cannot earn genuine respect by begging for it, explaining why you deserve it, or tolerating its absence. You earn it exclusively by establishing clear standards and consistently enforcing appropriate consequences. 6. Ignoring obvious character flaws because of physical attraction. Men lacking proper discernment and emotional discipline become completely mesmerized and hypnotized by physical beauty. She's stunningly attractive, radiates confidence, and seems intriguingly mysterious, but demonstrates obvious emotional instability, chaos, or manipulative patterns. Such men willingly overlook these significant red flags because their rational judgment becomes completely impaired the moment she smiles at them or shows them attention. Genuinely self-assured men consistently look beyond surface appearance and physical packaging. They understand clearly that beauty inevitably changes and fades over time, but core behavioral patterns repeat indefinitely and often intensify. If she demonstrably thrives on drama and conflict, plays manipulative psychological games, or constantly needs rescuing from self-created problems, he's definitely not volunteering for that exhausting long-term experience regardless of her appearance. Emotionally healthy, secure women actively seek and value men who prioritize peace, stability, and healthy dynamics over superficial attraction and chaos. Insight. If her physical appearance consistently makes you forget or compromise your standards and values, she's not the prize you've convinced yourself she is. 7. Confusing simple agreeability with attractive strength. Men fundamentally lacking confidence frequently use excessive niceness as a calculated tactic or strategy. They compliment constantly and effusively, agree with virtually everything she says regardless of their actual opinion, and never offer alternative perspectives or healthy challenges. They mistakenly believe that being maximally agreeable directly correlates with being attractive and desirable. But women don't genuinely fall for superficial, transparent niceness or obvious people-pleasing behavior. They're instinctively drawn to men who demonstrate that they are safe, genuinely strong, and fundamentally solid in their identity. Constant agreeability without any substance or backbone translates unconsciously as fear. Fear of losing her approval, fear of conflict or disagreement, fear of being disliked or rejected. Fear absolutely does not generate authentic attraction or lasting desire. Genuinely self-assured men are consistently kind and often quite generous with their time and resources, but they're definitely not doormats or pushovers. They can comfortably decline unreasonable requests without guilt, and they can disagree or offer contrary opinions without creating unnecessary drama or defensiveness. Core principle: demonstrated emotional strength and unwavering self-respect form the essential foundation for genuine attraction and lasting respect. 8. Allowing physical desire to completely override sound judgment. Men lacking emotional discipline consistently let physical attraction drive their most important decisions. They meet someone who checks every physical preference on their list, and within just 2 encounters, they're already imagining a future together, completely ignoring obvious incompatibilities in values, lifestyle, or emotional maturity, and hastily rearranging their priorities and standards to impress her. They confuse intense arousal with genuine compatibility. That powerful rush of dopamine and other neurochemicals tricks them into believing they've found something truly profound and meaningful, when it's actually just temporary biological response and chemical attraction. You certainly witnessed this pattern. A man who suddenly abandons his established fitness routine, stops spending time with his friends, spends money he doesn't have or can't afford, and completely forgets his stated principles and values, all because she's physically beautiful and laughs at his jokes or gives him attention. Genuinely self-assured men clearly recognize that physical attraction is only one component of true compatibility. They consistently ask themselves critical questions. How does she actually handle conflict and stress? Does she keep her commitments and promises? Does she bring calm, peace, and stability? Or does she bring chaos, drama, and emotional turbulence? A man who has genuinely mastered his impulses and emotional reactions possesses real power, not because he suppresses or denies natural desire, but because he consciously directs it intentionally toward appropriate targets. Example: 2 different men meet the same attractive, confident woman at a social event. One immediately buys her multiple drinks, overextends himself socially and financially, and tells her she's absolutely perfect. The other converses genuinely and naturally, shows authentic interest without desperate intensity or neediness. Which one occupies her thoughts later that evening and the next day? The one she couldn't immediately control or categorize. Core principle: when physical desire leads your decisions, sound judgment completely disappears. 9. Fearing rejection more than living with regret. Men lacking fundamental courage spend their entire lives actively avoiding rejection and the temporary discomfort it creates. They endlessly scroll through profiles, observe from comfortable distances, and overthink every possible approach instead of taking decisive action. They convince themselves that waiting for the mythical perfect moment is strategic wisdom when it's actually just rationalized fear and avoidance. Rejection certainly feels personal in the moment, but it fundamentally isn't. Rejection is simply neutral information indicating what fits your life and what doesn't, who's available and who isn't. Genuinely self-assured men treat rejection as a useful filtering mechanism and sorting system. In relationship contexts, fear of rejection actually destroys far more potential attraction than rejection itself ever does. You've definitely seen the man at social events who clearly likes someone but never approaches. He waits far too long hoping she'll notice him first and provide an obvious, unmistakable signal of interest. Meanwhile, a confident man simply walks over naturally and starts a genuine, relaxed conversation as if he's known her casually for years. Men lacking courage consistently internalize every unsuccessful approach or rejection as definitive proof they're fundamentally inadequate or unworthy. Self-assured men see rejection simply as efficiently filtering for the right person who's actually available and interested. Core principle: regret lingers indefinitely in your consciousness. Rejection passes relatively quickly if you allow it to. One hurts momentarily, the other can genuinely last a lifetime and create profound dissatisfaction.
10. Oversharing personal struggles to generate sympathy. Men desperately seeking emotional support and validation consistently mistake emotional dumping for genuine intimacy and connection. They prematurely reveal every insecurity, childhood trauma, and personal failure far too quickly, genuinely believing that radical honesty will make her love and accept them more deeply. Instead, she feels pressured and burdened to become a caretaker, therapist, or maternal figure rather than a romantic partner. Insight: caretaker mode completely eliminates romantic mode and sexual attraction. There's a critical distinction between healthy vulnerability and off-putting neediness.
Vulnerability means authentically sharing your truth with composure, strength, and appropriate context. Neediness uses unfiltered emotion primarily to seek comfort, validation, and emotional rescue. Core principle: genuinely self-assured men open up intentionally and strategically, sharing lessons learned and wisdom gained rather than ongoing wounds and unresolved trauma. They intuitively understand that attraction thrives on carefully balancing emotional depth with demonstrated stability and strength. Example: on a first date, she asks the common question, "What was your last relationship like?" A man lacking confidence immediately unloads everything. "My ex completely betrayed me, then blocked me everywhere, then unexpectedly returned and left again. I honestly just don't trust women anymore." Before dessert arrives, she's mentally decided this relationship won't continue beyond tonight. A self-assured man responds thoughtfully. "It ended because we ultimately wanted different things in life. I learned valuable lessons about what I truly value in a partnership." Or, "I learned important things about myself and what I genuinely need in a healthy relationship." Women want to feel your emotional presence, depth, and authenticity, not carry your unresolved emotional weight and ongoing baggage. Insight: share carefully chosen pieces of your story, not the entire unedited narrative on the first encounter. Include inspiring stories of overcoming challenges and personal growth. 11. Seeking constant validation through social media performance. Men lacking solid internal validation consistently crave external attention more than actual achievement or real-world results. They post carefully curated images, vague, profound-sounding statements, or emotional confessions and rants, hoping strangers and acquaintances will repair their damaged self-esteem or validate their perspectives and experiences. They desperately need reactions, comments, and digital approval to feel visible and valued. It provides temporary satisfaction and a brief dopamine hit, but that pleasant feeling fades quickly, and they inevitably return to scrolling for more proof they matter. Genuinely self-assured men don't chase validation from strangers or base their self-worth on social media metrics. They create tangible, real-world results and meaningful achievements. They use social media strategically as a practical tool for communication and networking, not as a mirror for constant self-reflection or a stage for performance. They're far too engaged in building genuine, real-world value to worry about who acknowledged, liked, or commented on their latest post. One seeks temporary comfort from strangers, the other projects genuine competence and engagement with life. Core principle: external approval fades immediately and must be constantly renewed. Genuine achievement endures and compounds. Stop performing for others' approval. 12. Allowing emotions to directly control actions without filter. Men lacking emotional regulation mistakenly believe emotional expression means having no boundaries or filters whatsoever. When angry, they immediately yell or post public rants. When jealous, they accuse without evidence. When insecure, they pursue harder and more desperately. Every passing mood becomes an immediate action and reaction, which appears immature and childlike rather than masculine and controlled. This constant volatility makes women feel fundamentally unsafe. She might initially appreciate your passionate nature, but constant reactivity increasingly feels like managing a child rather than partnering with a man.
Core principle: if a man can't consistently model mature emotional behavior, the relationship fundamentally lacks solid foundation for long-term success. Genuinely self-assured men feel everything deeply and fully, but act with conscious control and deliberation. They pause intentionally before reacting. They respond thoughtfully after reflection and consideration. That calm, demonstrated self-command clearly communicates, "I can effectively handle emotional complexity, yours, mine, and whatever life presents to us." Example: she says, "I need some space right now." A man lacking confidence immediately panics, calls repeatedly, shows up uninvited at her home or workplace, demands immediate explanations and reassurance. A self-assured man takes a deep breath and responds calmly, "Take whatever time you need," then refocuses productively on his own life, projects, and priorities. Guess who she thinks about and eventually misses? Women test emotional steadiness not because they enjoy drama,
but because they need concrete evidence of leadership capability under pressure and stress. Insight. Feel deeply and fully. React slowly and deliberately.
Thank you for bringing this to my attention.
13.
However,
Competing with women
regarding
instead of
the
providing
budget,
leadership.
we must
Men
adhere
lacking
strictly
confidence
to the
often see
limits
women
we
as
agreed
adversaries
upon
or
last
competitors.
quarter.
When challenged or questioned, they argue aggressively to win, rather than listening to understand underlying concerns. They turn playful interaction and testing into unnecessary ego battles. Attraction isn't a competition or debate to be won. Genuinely self-assured men guide energy effectively and productively. When she's emotional, he provides grounding stability. When she teases, he smiles with genuine amusement. When she tests boundaries or buttons, he remains centered and unshaken. Leadership isn't control or domination. It's clear direction. It's your quiet, unshakable steadiness that makes her feel safe enough to relax completely and open up authentically. Example. She says somewhat confrontationally, "Why do you always have to be right about everything?" A man lacking confidence argues each specific point methodically to prove his logic and correctness. A self-assured man grins playfully and responds with humor. "I don't always have to be right about everything. I just happen to be right today." Playful, confident composure makes her laugh genuinely and completely dissolves the tension instantly. Healthy masculine energy diffuses feminine emotional storms effectively, with appropriate humor and composure, not with reactivity or defensiveness. Core principle: lead her energy productively. Don't mirror her emotional chaos or match her intensity. Conclusion: the path forward to authentic masculine strength. Every single man experiences inevitable moments of weakness, doubt, and uncertainty. The fundamental difference between a man who remains weak indefinitely and one who develops genuine strength is consistent awareness and decisive action. Men lacking confidence react impulsively to circumstances. Self-assured men reflect thoughtfully before acting. Men lacking confidence fear losing her above everything. Self-assured men fear losing themselves and compromising their core identity. Women may initially notice appearance and surface charms, but they fall deeply for demonstrated strength. Knowing clearly who you are and what you stand for, even when intense temptation or overwhelming emotion attempts to sway you from your path. Say no clearly when you mean no. Speak truth calmly and directly, even if your voice shakes with nervousness. And always, without exception, leave decisively when respect disappears from the relationship. Each standard you establish and consistently enforce over time builds lasting attraction, genuine respect, and authentic connection. Real power and inner peace come from being genuinely respected by others, beginning fundamentally with unwavering self-respect and self-honor. If this message resonated deeply with you and challenged your current thinking, understand clearly that avoiding critical relationship mistakes makes the genuine difference between women being naturally drawn to you or instinctively repelled by you. Live consistently as the man she can feel genuinely safe with and choose to follow willingly. And most importantly of all, live authentically as the man you're genuinely proud of being when you look at yourself honestly in the mirror. I sincerely hope this has provided valuable perspective and practical wisdom for your personal journey toward authentic, masculine strength and fulfilling relationships.